Microsoft has had some incredibly successful operating systems and some major failures. Think of Windows Millennial Edition. Well, now they're coming up with Windows 11, and frankly, things just aren't looking that good. If you know me, you know how I have had some issues with Microsoft here over the years. They are a company that has been, in my opinion, very dishonest, have been doing all kinds of immoral things for a very long time by destroying parts of the market that they consider to be competitors of theirs. So they have used their position at the top of the market with billions of dollars in cash to really nail anybody that tries to challenge them. And it's amazing to me what has happened over the years. Of course, you might know Microsoft did put an investment into Apple. A lot of people say that investment that Bill Gates authorized really saved Apple from total collapse, and I can see how that is a reasonable argument. But bottom line, when we get down to it, Microsoft Windows has never been a great operating system. It's always had issues, it's always had glitches, and we could go into a lot of reasons for that. But I think one of the main ones is that it has really tried to stay compatible with everything all of it. When you were a kid, you certainly rode a bicycle. But the bicycle that you might be riding when you're in your 30s or 40s is probably not going to have three wheels, and it's probably not going to have a pedal connected to the front wheel. It is going to be a whole lot different. And Microsoft over the years has tried to make their more modern operating systems as time has gone on compatible with older operating systems of theirs. And that inevitably leads to problems. If you're trying to fix a problem, Einstein said this, right? If you're trying to fix a problem, you cannot use the thinking that created the problem in that first place in order to fix a problem. You have to think at a different level. And when it comes to software and operating systems, you actually have to program at a different level. And the entire structure of the programs has to be different than it is when you're starting out. Microsoft has been doing that a little bit, and with Windows 11, they are really trying. They've gotten such black eyes over the years for security problems, and I think they deserve them for the most part. Now they're forcing you to use what's called a TPM. Now, these TPMs have been around for quite a while. You see them built into your Macs, and they've been built into your Apple Macs now for years. They've been built in, frankly, to your iOS devices, for your iPhone, also for years. But this is a trusted platform module, TPM. And the idea behind a TPM is that your computer hardware is locking up all of this information that's in your TPM. Now, there are a lot of different implementations of TPMs. The implementation that Apple uses stores all kinds of stuff that makes sure you're booting properly, security keys, etc. What Microsoft is doing now is for Windows 11, if you're going to run it, your machine has to have a TPM, and not just an older TPM 2.0. Now, there are alpha images available right now for developers of Windows 11, and I have to absolutely encourage you, if you are a software developer, to get an alpha version of Windows so that you can double check, is my software still going to be able to run in this environment? And I also want to encourage you, if you are relying on certain applications, and maybe they're a little bit older, maybe they're not, but if your business requires you to use a piece of software, you really should get Windows 11 right now. Get the alpha code, follow it through beta, and test your software, make sure it works. If it isn't working, then talk to your software vendors, warn them that it's coming. Because Windows 11 requiring TPM support, although it doesn't require it right now in this alpha version that they're releasing, but it does require it supposedly when they finally release Windows 11. Your computers that you have today probably don't have this chip in them. We have a client that decided they were going to go out and buy their own server against our judgment and what we told them they should be doing. So they went out and they bought, we're going to get an HP server from HP Enterprise, and they did. And it did not have most of the security stuff that they needed, including it did not have a TPM. It did not have one of these trusted platform modules on it. Now, in their case, with this HP server, they could buy one after the fact and install it, although the entire machine had to be completely destroyed and reloaded. That's a minor price to pay versus buying a whole new server. But the TPM is not necessarily going to be compatible with the new version of Windows. In fact, Microsoft Surface tablets, I looked this up, their highest end Surface tablets, Microsoft branding all over it, Microsoft certified, $6,000 almost to buy this top end Surface tablet with all of the bells and whistles you can get on it. It will not work with Windows 11. How's that? So the reason Microsoft is doing this, I think, is a good reason. They really want to lock down the system so that we're no longer having as many security problems. And we're not going to get into all the different types of security problems. The TPM is not going to solve a lot of them, but it's going to solve some of them. But the program manager over at Microsoft, her name is Aria, I guess it is, Carly, she said that the hardware floor of TPM 2.0 support is going to be in place for the final version. We'll see. I think a lot of people are going to push back. However, Microsoft really does, and legitimately does, want to make sure that everything is safe. So keep that in mind. Now, there are a lot of people complaining about the alpha version, and that is why you have an alpha version. They're complaining about it because of the TPM, but also because of some of the other things that are going on with Windows 11, at least right now. Some of the things Microsoft has announced. They've got, for instance, group policy will not let you get around hardware enforcement for Windows 11. Microsoft is still going to block you from upgrading your device to make sure your devices stay supported and secure. So that's good news. And it's good news because many times in the past, how many of us, we've upgraded our machines and to a new version of the operating system, and I use upgrade with air quotes around it, but we've upgraded our machines and they won't work with the new version of Windows. The audience here for her little statement, which was part of this Microsoft Tech Community user questions, was very upset. They did not like the answers that she was giving, and this is according to Windows Central. The video's top comment read, quote, "A lot of these answers come off as super tone deaf. It's looking like Windows 11 will be another Windows 8. So for those of us that know, yeah, Windows 8 was really quite the flop. Remember, they very quickly came out with Windows 8.1. And Microsoft isn't the only tone-deaf company out there. I've got to say, I think Apple's been very tone-deaf in a lot of different ways. Now they seem to be waking up, doing some things a little bit better. So kudos to them for that. But a lot of companies really tone-deaf to what users want. And there's a lot of blog posts here. We'll have to see if what they're saying ultimately ends up in Windows 11. If it does, things will be a bit of a problem. But part of the reason we don't know is because Microsoft disabled any more comments on the video. They're getting so many of them. And of course, there's trolls, people who hate Microsoft. I'm certainly not one of them. They also, by the way, deleted all existing comments on the video here about Windows 11 with their program manager in response to the negativity. The voting is still up on this video, and there were 2,700 dislikes and only 146 likes as of this last week. It's interesting. Microsoft's really rushing to these new hardware requirements. They're being very aggressive. I think they're handling it poorly. Sound familiar? We've heard these sorts of things before, but we'll see here. And the legitimacy of this, how much is it going to benefit, is limited as well. Because where are we having our biggest problems? People clicking links, things get installed, etc. That's nothing the TPM is going to be able to handle. The TPM is going to make sure that you have a secure boot. That's its main goal in life. So how is it going to help with a lot of this other stuff? We will see. And I'll definitely keep you up to date on this. It's a real problem. Hey, I want to remind you guys, go to craigpeterson.com. Hopefully you got my newsletter last week. I gave you a private link to a webinar that I did about VPNs, because there's a lot of people selling VPNs. Most of them are misrepresenting what they can do. And in fact, most of them make you less safe. So don't miss another thing. Go to craigpeterson.com right now and subscribe.